Dr. Pippa Malmgren a vorbit, fost consilier prezidențial pentru președintele George W. Bush, susține într-un interviu în exclusivitate pentru Antena3 CNN că războiul din Ucraina se va termina cu îmbrățișare. Dr. Malmgren a vorbit și despre rolul jucat de China în acest conflict.
I think there are really two very different wars occurring. There's the one that we hear about all the time in the media, which is Ukraine. But then there's this other thing, and I've called it the hot war in cold places, meaning space, where we're clearly in conflict with both Russia and China, the Arctic, the high north, and then there's a cold war in hot places, meaning Africa, where we're clearly seeing the West, NATO, facing off with particularly Russia, especially in areas like what we call the Sahel, meaning the Sahara Desert, from the Sudan across to Mali, but all the way south as well into Central African Republic, and then also in the Pacific. General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, has said we are in the midst of an underreported military buildup in the Pacific. And this is absolutely correct. And it involves many of these tiny little islands that nobody really pays attention to. But they are strategic footholds that China and the United States are now jockeying over. China reaching to the Solomon Islands to build a new military base that's very close to Australia. The U.S. is building a huge new military base south of Guam on a tiny island called Tinian. So there's a lot of movement, and so it's almost, I've argued, we kind of already are in World War III, but World War III looks very different from World War II. It's much more technological, it's much less humans. It's in places where there are no journalists. I can explain why I think we will get a resolution, but we'll be negotiating primarily with China, not with Russia. Every time President Putin has threatened to use nuclear weapons, China almost immediately, within an hour, comes out and says, no, we don't approve, we draw a line, that is not appropriate. So China is an ally in terms of making sure nuclear weapons are not deployed. And China has said they want the hostilities in Ukraine to end as well. So we're also aligned on this issue. But what is the price? And one aspect is China wants greater freedom in the Pacific. They want a better deal with Taiwan. And so we won't be just negotiating over Ukraine, we'll also be negotiating over Taiwan. One thing is sure, and I know this is going to sound so strange, but these geopolitical conflicts between the superpowers always end the same way. They literally end in a